Welcome to our meeting on educational activities and awareness activities. This is one activity of the cooperation that the Norwegian Network of Food Banks and the Polish Federation have in a cooperation of the Active Citizen Fund. And the overall goal of this project is to strengthen the capacity of the civil society sector to promote inclusion, democracy, and active participation. So today we have an agenda where we're going to listen about different educational and awareness activities in both Norway and Poland. We will have a presentation from the food banks in Oslo and Berrigan, and then we'll continue with a presentation from the Federation of Polish Food Banks and the food bank in Olsztyn. I will refrain myself from saying too many Polish names because I'm not so good at it, but please accept my apologies if I pronounce something wrong. And I hope we have some time for discussion at the end of the presentations. So without further ado, I would like to go ahead and give the floor to Cristiano Obert, who is the chairman of the Network of Norwegian Food Banks and also the manager of the food bank in Oslo.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you all for joining this school-related meeting. I haven't been I haven't had these school kids coming to the warehouse the last few years because of COVID, obviously. But we sincerely hope that we can pick this really good project up again, because it's very popular, and to work with kids always gives more energy than taps it, at least from my point of view. So I'll hopefully be able to share this screen. Let's see here. So you can see my screen now?
Yes, if you can, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
There we go. Okay, thank you. So I've taken my usual school visit PowerPoint, and I've deleted most of the slides, but I would like to focus on a couple of them. So I always start by talking about poverty, because Norway, as you know, most of you know, is a rich country. We don't have that much visible poverty in Norway, but still there is quite a lot of poverty. Before COVID, we said that at least 1 in 10 were defined as poor. And among these, over 110,000 children. So, and then I talked to the kids about what does it mean to be poor in a country like Norway. And talk very briefly about malnutrition, but I try to focus on social exclusion. And then and for kids, this is a sort of a big word. They don't necessarily understand, but then I try to explain what social exclusion is. And I usually use these 4 examples, like, for instance, celebrating birthday, going to birthday parties, celebrating Christmas. And I explained to them that this, as a parent, I know how much it costs to celebrate birthday or to celebrate Christmas and giving presents. And if you are poor, then you have to use what little money you have to pay the utility bills, pay the rent, and of course buy food. So forget Christmas, forget birthday parties. This is not something we can prioritize. And then I talk about, okay, what most of us see as what you can do whenever you want, going to a cafe or going to the movies or whatnot. This is also quite costly. So that is something you can't afford. You have to prioritize again. I always ask the children to raise their hands, and I ask them who has extracurricular activities, who does something like play in a band or play football or soccer, go skiing, dance, do martial arts, something outside of school. And if I talk to kids from schools from a sort of a more wealthier part of Oslo, 95% of the kids raise their hands and say, yeah, we'll play football, we go skiing, whatnot. But if I ask the kids from more, not the richest parts of town, but the inner east schools, typical, then maybe 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 raise their hands. And they are often the ones who are have the same skin color as the ethnic Norwegian. So doing like playing football or something like that outside of school, playing in a team, that is something you can't afford. And of course, going on a holiday. I think about 5%, 6% from the last statistics can't afford 1 week of vacation a year. So when I give these examples, you see that the kids, they sort of but this is they can't understand basically that people can't afford these, what we see as a given. And then we switch over to talk about food waste, and I try to explain to them why it's important that we eat the food that we buy and why we take care of the food that we produce. Because and I usually give an example with apples, and I try to explain to them, and okay, it's not just that it magically appears on the fruit platter at home or in the store, because the apple it comes from somewhere. Someone has done a lot of work to get that apple from the apple tree to your convenience store, to your store, retail store. And so I go through this cycle and explain to them how many resources it takes to produce just one apple. And if we sort of forget that we have this tray of apples and we forget to eat that apple and it ends up like this, then what do you do with it? And again, it differs quite a lot between the children, what they say. Some will say, oh, I'll just cut away the bad part and eat the rest. But most say, well, I'll just throw it away. And then I usually engage the kids and ask them, okay, what can you do with that apple instead of throwing it away? And they come up with examples like apple pie or smoothie or whatever. So I try to engage the kids as much as possible, get them to do the talking and giving each other good tips and hints. In Norway, we have a lot of free, well, not free, but we have access to a lot of fresh water. But when we talk about producing food with a global view, it's important to add the water issue. So I get them to try to guess how much water you need to produce just one apple. And it's actually 125 liters. So always getting the kids to engage. I ask them a lot of questions. I try to I try to get them as active as possible. And then we talk about the actual food waste and this is for Norway, where these numbers were from a few years ago. But every 10th minute we throw away about 5 tons of edible food. And then I usually show animated movie where we stack these cubes on top of each other and we reach the research base, and all the kids and all the teachers just, they can't believe it. And when I just stress that this is just for Norway, and tell them that, well, actually a third of all the food in the world is actually never eaten by humans, they sort of get they get really shocked, especially the grown-ups. So it's quite effective. And we encourage the kids, and that is basically the reason why they visit us. We try to get them to be food savers, food heroes, and try to help and give them a few tips on how to be a food hero. How can they save food as a kid? And of course, you have the example with the apple. I showed them this, a banana, which the yellow part is good as it is, eat it like it is. And the brown part, the brown banana, use it to make pancakes, banana pancakes, for instance. So we always give them a lot of tips on what to use with a not so visually pleasing products. What can you do with the products when they don't look that edible anymore, but still are very edible? There's a lot of confusion about best before and used by. So that is also important for us to stress, that to get them to learn the difference between best before, where we in Norway we often use the extra words often good after. So, and we try to explain that, and I usually give some examples. I haven't included the pictures here, but I remember I found a packet, half packet of chewing gum in a jacket I hadn't used for several years, and I tried to get them to guess how old this packet of chewing gum was, and I think it was like 5 years old or something, but I could still chew the chewing gum. I found some what do you call it? Some lozenge when you have a sore throat. This candy stuff, which was 10 years old, but it still tasted like it was produced yesterday. And of course, dried goods, yogurt. You can use weeks and even months after the best before date, and so on. So we give a lot of examples, and of course we stress that if it's a used by product, then you should not eat it after that date. And I always end the sessions with handing out a small pamphlet which tells them a little bit about Matsentralen, about the food banks, Norway. Tell them a little bit about poverty, but focus mostly on what they can do as a food hero or a food savior, what they can do to both save food from retail stores, and also, of course, at home. What can they do when they have surplus food? Where in the fridge should you store the food, and so on and so on. And I think that was basically it. Yeah, that was the last slide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cristiano. Now I would like to ask if there is any questions. Also remind you to please keep your microphones muted while someone else is speaking.
And also sorry about the background noise. It's my Labrador who really wants to get up on my lap, but she's 33 kilos, and I'm sitting on a normal chair, so it's not possible. So sorry about that.
That's okay, Cristiano. Is there anyone that has any questions about the activities of the food bank in Oslo? I see a hand up of Alexandra.
Yes, hello. I have a question, even 3 questions. For how many schools, in how many schools do you arrange these meetings? And is there any occasion, or you just are invited by the school to have such a presentation for them?
Yeah, normally we invite them to Matsentralen to give them a quick tour and so they can get a sort of impression on how it is at our warehouse. But on a couple of occasions I've been to a few schools. I usually send out a general invitation at the beginning of the semester, and maybe I'll last time I remember I wrote that I have weeks from this to that where I will do this, and first come, first served.
Maybe here, all of the activities that you had with schools were as part of project that you had applied to.
Yeah. So we got some extra funding from Gjensidige Stiftelsen, I think, one of the foundations in Norway who supports us money-wise. And I think the last year I did this, I had around 1,200 kids from 20 different schools visiting us, and I visited 1 or 2, approximately.
Did you have other questions, Alexandra?
No, that's all. Thank you. The 2 questions only.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. If anyone else has any question, you can just take the floor. I don't see everybody if you raise your hands. But if not, then we'll just move on to Monica, who is the manager at the food bank in Berrigan, which is around 8 hours from Oslo, towards the coast, more or less. So Monica, you can just take the floor.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Presentation? Very good. So first of all, I would like to tell you a little bit about Matsentralen, but it seems like... So we are located in Bergen. It's the 2nd biggest city in Norway, and there's about 300,000 inhabitants here. Last year, we distributed about 500 tons of food, and we have 50 organizations coming here to fetch food. And our central is located approximately 20 minutes outside the city center. So we have a lot of schools coming to visit us, and they have to come by bus. And this is beautiful Bergen. And this is just a little sneak preview of what it looks like inside. And in the middle here, you can see a picture of me and my colleague Åge. So we are 2 employees, and we have about 8 volunteers working here. So our school project started in 2019 when we applied for finances from Grieg Foundation. And we sent an invitation to all 66 schools in Bergen. And we invited all the 6th graders, they are 11 to 12 years old, come and visit us. And we sent all the invitations to the principals of the schools. And already the first week, 14 schools registered and said they wanted to come and visit us. And in the beginning, our main focus was just on how to reduce food waste. But when we held the presentations, we saw that the kids were really lacking the background knowledge. They didn't know anything about sustainability. So after a while, we thought maybe we have to make it a bit bigger. We have to think bigger. So we started up, had a few presentations in February and March. And then, of course, in March 2020, everything stopped. And in September 2021, we decided it all opened up again in society. So we decided that, okay, let's go all in. Let's invite all schools again. And this time we adjusted the topic a bit to match the school's curriculum. So we focused more on sustainability in addition to food waste. And there were 21 schools that registered right away. Quite a few of the schools with several classes. And they had an option to come and visit us, or we could come to the schools. But luckily, most of the schools decided they wanted to come and visit us, even though some of them actually had to travel for an hour to get here by bus. And the schools paid for it themselves. So I kind of think we did it the right way. And when they registered, they did it online, just in a Google Sheet, really. So I didn't have to communicate with them. They just did it themselves. And then I could follow up later and find a date that suits me. So now we have talked to 1,000, I call them young persons, not kids, because they are persons. And we've had 800 visiting us here at the Marsentalen. And the 5 schools I visited have been big schools. And what we aim is, we want to give them hope that change is possible. And we want to focus on how they can be part of this change, what they can do. And it's important that we don't scare them, because there's quite a lot of kids that are really afraid of the climate change, and they see all the problems. And it's really important that we remember, as Christiane said in the presentation, that there might be kids living in poverty present. And we see this every time we have these presentations, that there are always some kids, when we talk about poverty, that their look drops down, and you can see that they are among them. So what we do, first of all, we take a tour at Marsentalen, and we show them examples on surplus food. We ask them, why do you think this has been thrown away? What's wrong with this product? And we even take them into a freezer. So we tell them to wear a big, thick jacket, because we are going into the freezer and it's more than 20 below zero. And it really makes an impact. So after we've had the tour, we've made a little classroom in a quiet corner at Marsentalen. We have a smart screen. So it's not really a fancy thing, but we see that the kids enjoy being where the magic happens and not being in a classroom. So it really works out. They sit quite close together, and it's really easy to communicate. So we can ask questions and we let them do the talking. So we start off with presenting us, and the Grieg Foundation founded it. And then we start off with the Sustainable Development Goals. And actually only half of the kids has heard about this. And what you see, the picture on the right-hand side, is the first thing you see when you walk into Marsentalen. It's the goals. And then we talk about how to reduce inequalities. So we do this to visualize it. We have donuts, and we divide them into 2 groups, where 20% are the rich ones, 80% are the poor ones. The rich ones, they come up to us in front, and they are given the big plate with all the donuts, and they can really eat as much as they want, while the other ones, they have to share this little, just get a little piece. So the kids feel it's really, really unfair. And that's the point. It provokes them. And of course, in Norway, we see that the consumption has doubled since 1990. We are one of the richest countries, and I'm not aware of the differences in the world, and that there's differences in Norway. This is news to them. Yeah, when we talk about spending, we ask them, is there anything you've got too much of? Is there anything you can reduce in your own life? And when we ask that question, there's always someone saying, I've got too much clothes at home. So then we show them this picture from the desert in Chile, where all these piles of clothes are just being dropped, really. So this really makes an impact on them when they are provoked. And we tell them, well, here you can do a change. You can buy secondhand. You can pass on the clothes when they're too small. We can all do something about it. Then we carry on to poverty in Norway. Cristiano explained that perfectly, but we tell them that poverty is maybe different from what you see in television. And we try to give them hope that there's always ways out of poverty, because as I told you earlier, there are always some kids who lives in poverty. So there's hope. There are organizations that can help you, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's really normal. Everyone knows someone who lives in poverty, but most likely they are hiding it. So this kind of makes them think. So at this point in the presentation, it really becomes quiet. No one says anything. And yeah.
Takie trochę drastyczne, nie?
Then we carry on to food waste. And we try to visualize it, make it quite simple to understand. I've stolen this from Cristiano. But we try to show them how much food we throw away. So imagine a queue of lorries all across Norway, and most of the kids has driven that way because it's between the two biggest countries in the world, in Norway. So they really know it's a long, long way, and it's impossible to understand. In the presentation, I have two films, one about Matsentralen, and the other one is this cute little film about a strawberry. And this always makes them laugh, and they like it. So you need to spice up the presentation, so I don't do the talking for let's say 40, 50 minutes. We have some films, we try to communicate all the time. And of course, how much we throw away, every one of us. And we focus on the expiry date. If I have yogurt that is past date, I invite them to taste. And to sum it up, what can you do? Well, you can be kind of you have to help your parents because they don't have a clue. The grown-ups are they've made all the problems. So you have to help your parents to stay focused and make sure that leftovers are eaten, do something else, be inventive, and buy everything except underwear secondhand. So, and repair, and don't throw away, sell, share, or give away things you don't need. They are 11, 12 years old. They have, for instance, a lot of toys they don't use anymore. They are young adults. So maybe they can give it to someone else, someone smaller. Yeah, I was visiting schools versus having them visiting us. Well, I prefer them to come to us because it makes a much better impact. They see the food, you have examples, they are kind of part of Matsentralen, and so that's what we recommend the schools to do, to come and visit us. But when I go out to the schools, I have a lot of examples with me, so both things works really. Yes, that was about it.
Thank you very much, Monica. Very interesting to hear your experiences in Berrigan. Is there anyone, is there any questions? If anyone has any questions, you can, yeah, Lucas, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thanks for the presentation. We've just had the exchange of ideas with my coworker that you're talking about poverty in a very
Straightforward.
yeah, it's very straightforward. That's something that we don't do, and maybe I think it's a difference between, you know, maybe because poverty in Poland looks really depressing, I think. But I wanted to ask you, how do the kids actually react, and if this was just your idea, if it comes from practice, or have you consulted the whole methodology, let's say, with some experts, teachers, or someone? Because I think that's something for me that's inspiring, and for my friend who's invisible for you, it's kind of scary.
We've done it a lot of times, and every time after presentation we ask the teachers, what is your, what do you think about this? And they always say that they like the way we do it. It's yes, it's straightforward, but I think it's important, at least in Norway, that we normalize it, because there's so big differences between rich and poor, and the poverty is so hidden in Norway that they're not aware that it exists at all. And so I have consulted teachers in my network. So, but yeah, so far there's been no reactions. So I think we're going to carry on doing it this way. It works perfectly, I think.
If I may ask, I guess it's a very good point that you bring up, Lucas, because I think that we are talking about two countries with very different kinds of poverty. And the issue that we struggle with here, as both Cristiano and Monica mentioned, is invisible poverty. And the fact that we have 10% of the population living in poverty, and most people don't even know about it. This is exactly what we try, at least what Cristiano and Monica and others doing these activities, try to help with. They try to bring awareness to the fact that there is poverty, and therefore we should take better care of food, because while we are throwing something away, there's someone that maybe doesn't have access to that. So I guess that in that way, it might be a little bit easier, because as you say, Lucas, the picture in Poland might be a little bit more depressive. So it's much more challenging to bring up this subject. But it's still a challenge here, as I understood from Cristiano and also from Monica, when the kids are asking specific questions about poverty, and some of them look down, or some of them, you know, not all of them put their hands up, and definitely makes them think. But I really like what Monica said about trying to provoke a bit, trying to shake them up a bit, to make them aware, not just of the problem of food waste, but also poverty. But it's definitely a very interesting contrast.
Yeah, and if I could just add on what and stress what Monica said, that you always say that it's not a shame. You shouldn't be ashamed to be poor. Just for a lot of people, it just the circumstances. It's just what happens in your life or your parents' life. And I usually also get that feedback from the teachers after the presentation, that they really enjoy and really appreciate that we could focus on both poverty and food waste. and that we shock the kids a little bit. So it's just both the poverty part of it and the food waste part of it.
Sorry,
Yes.
I'm the invisible friend from Łukasz. That was exactly the word that came to my mind when I heard about your presentation way, that children are shocked because if they stop talking, they're shocked. So that was, in a way, my obstacle. Whether you really intentionally want to shock children with the fact that somebody is poor. So, but okay, if you have consultancies from the teachers, and they say it's okay, so it's okay. Thank you.
Yes, we have to remember that most Norwegian children are quite spoiled, and we live in one of the richest countries. So I think maybe we have to go the extra mile to shook them up a bit. So yeah.
Is there anyone else that has questions? I would also like to clarify in the beginning, I don't think I introduced myself. So just for you, of those that don't know me and wonder why I'm also having some comments about the Norwegian food banks, is because I'm working as a project manager in the Federation of Norwegian Food Banks. So therefore, sometimes I make some extra comments to the discussion. But I don't see any more hands. No. So I would like to give the floor to Alexandra, who is representing the Federation of Polish Food Banks, and is going to tell us a bit about their experience. The floor is yours, Alexandra.
Hello, everyone. With me is also Kasia Lipka-Szustak. You may know her by emailing. Yes?
Yes, maybe yes or maybe not. I don't know. I'm also from Federation of Food Banks, and we are together working in educational projects. And Ola, in 1 second, will tell you about our big project commission. I would like to add only that in Poland we have 32 food banks and federation. And the role of federation is to coordinate educational projects national level. And also we invite local food banks very often to this project, and their educators do the conduct the workshop in the school, for example. But the role of federation is also to prepare or to organize some kind of training of trainers for educators of food bank, and also invent a kind of educational materials and then share them with local food banks. And also we do a kind of annual report of food waste, and also share those all materials with local food banks. And Ola will tell now about our project commission, and then a local food bank will tell about their experiences.
Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, a commission.
You can maybe put it in present mode so it takes the whole screen.
Okay, I put it, but okay. I did it, but.
Yeah, I saw you clicked on it, but it didn't.
Now? Is it in presentation mode?
Not yet. But you can just present from there. It's this one.
I suppose you are sharing the wrong screen, and that's why we don't see the actual presentation mode.
Okay, I see.
So maybe you can try to stop sharing and share again, and then you can choose because you need to choose the exact window. Let's see. Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Cristiano, for the technical support.
Thank you. So a commission is, but I can no, I can change the slides.
If you click on the space bar, I think it goes to the next one.
Oh,
Yes, it does. Perfect.
okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so a commission is like a series of 3 projects. It's now it has we are prepared to start a 3rd edition because there are 3 editions of this whole project, and first 2 editions were addressed to elementary school students, and the 3rd one, which I said will start in March, will be addressed to kindergarten children. And by now we the commission take the schools that take part in this project were 553 schools. We engage 638 teachers and 52,322 students. And I don't count the 3rd edition by now. And the first edition of a commission called Do Not Waste, and it started in 2018 and lasted until March 2021. And it was the largest edition of this project because it was also financed by public money, and we have 2 other business partners. And our role, I mean federation, was to coordinate the whole project, and we invited local banks to take part in actions. We first we invite food banks in the regions. We are looking for the one that want to join the project, and after we found 20 banks, I'm sorry, 19. Yeah, 19, about 20 banks, yes. We ask them to find the schools in the regions, the schools that are they are familiar with, to join this project. And then the local coordinators were they are taking care of the schools in the regions. And we also invite the educators from the local food banks to visit at schools and conduct lessons on not wasting food. And the students have to prepare projects and present them in front of the entire school, or the students from another classes in their yearbook. We also product a lot of educational materials that we shared with all of the food banks, so they can use them to prepare their own educational actions. You can see some of these examples of these materials. We were talking, of course, about food wasting, about how the food came on our table. We also talked about saving resources as water and energy, and about waste segregation. So it was a lot of ecological also knowledge. This is some pictures from schools. As you can see, what children were doing on the lessons. And we also create some educational animated films. It was 6 movies, and they were similar to the topics of the lessons that we prepared. And okay, another edition of this project was started in September 2021. And as a part of this edition, we create 2 storytelling boards and 1 illustrated story addressed to children aged 7 to 9. And for students aged 10 to 13, we received scenarios based on the project method. And this is an example of one of the storyboard. And as you can see here, this one is all about wasting food and saving food, because we showed here also good and bad examples. Like this is a storyboard, so we use it to tell some stories. We also suggested teachers to use it. We gave them some scenarios, but they can use it in other way to talk about how the food are showed on our tables, and how we should prepare for example, for going to shop food, and how we should, how children should save food on schools. There are some words that people say to each other, so a lot of good and bad examples. And another storyboard was about ecological and healthy ways of living. So it focused on how we can save resources, how we can spend our free time, how we can also buy things, how the whole consumption can be, how can it looks like. So the 3rd edition will start in March. And this is a pilot edition, because for the first time we conduct the activities in the kindergartens, and we focus on 4 main subjects as role of the gardens, the food wasting, saving resources, and waste segregation. And we're also creating the storyboard and another stories and the series of activities. And this is a little challenge for us, because for the first time we are trying to reach the youngest children. So this is all for the e-commission, about the e-commission. As Kasia said, we are focusing on preparing materials for educators, for trainers from food banks, from local food banks, so they can use it to their own smaller projects.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Very interesting to hear about your project. Really looking forward to see how it goes with the kindergarten kids. That is definitely a nice challenge. Is there anyone that has any questions?
Yeah, hi, Cristiano here. I was wondering why you chose kindergarten, or was that something that was supposed from the government, initiated from the government, and instead of maybe focusing on elder kids? Thank you.
So we decided because we noticed that there is not many programs about ecology for kindergartens, and we see it during the recruitation process that a lot of kindergartens are interested, and I think it is important to teach children, such young children, about ecology.
And in this project, we also are going to go to the parents also, because there are kind of competition for food recipe book for zero waste for the children, of course, with parents, and we wanted on that the children will be the kind of ambassador of do not waste for whole family. And we will see, it's a pilot, and we will see how it looks, looks like, and it's really challenging, you know, to focus on this kind of material that are for this children in this age. And we have also some experts that we consult our idea, and they say us that this is for older children, don't use, it's too big for them, yes, and it's really a nice challenge, I can say, in our work.
Yes, I guess if you did the donut experiment with kindergarten kids, it might get a little bit more noisy than generally. So maybe it's a little bit more difficult if things are unfair for smaller kids. So, but very, very interesting. Thank you so much. I would like to go ahead and give the floor to Aneta, that will be talking to us about the experience of the food bank in Olsztyn. I hope I said it correctly.
Yes, from Olsztyn.
Ah, Olsztyn there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm trying to share my screen. I hope I will do it in right mode. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it's still a small version, but we see it.
So it's not in the presentation mode?
No, then I guess you will have to stop sharing again.
The same problem.
Yeah.
Okay, try one more time.
But it is good to see that at least we're all having the same issues, even 2 years after a pandemic. There, perfect. Thank you so much.
Great.
Go ahead, Aneta, please.
Okay, so thank you, Paula. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here and meet you all. My name is Aneta Janikowska-Kiśluk, and I'm a representative of a food bank in Olsztyn. And here I'm responsible for international projects and some kind of innovation projects. And I will talk about activities, food bank in Olsztyn activities concerning with education and raising awareness. But I would like to emphasize that we have so many activities that I will tell about it in a nutshell. So very short, without any details. So food bank in Olsztyn, we are located in a very beautiful place in a northern eastern Poland, in the region called Thousand of Lakes. So we are happy to be here. Our mission, of course, is to prevent food waste, reduce food waste, or to prevent them, and to reduce the extent of malnutrition. And for this picture, at the bottom, you can see our great team. So these very enthusiastic people, people with big heart and great passion for over 20 years, acting on behalf of preventing food waste and educate people with mission of making a change in people awareness. So I would like to say about some kind of main activities, main areas of our activity, that there's of course food aid and reducing food waste, but beside this, we also do many things concerning with education, and I will tell wider about it later on during my presentation. Then activities concerning with social inclusion and vocational activation, and entrepreneurship. I would like to also tell you a few words only about infrastructure, because sorry, because we know that they're very important. It make our work easier, more effective. And this is a kind of professionalization of our activities. So we gain financial support to build a new warehouse, to buy equipment, trucks, forklifts. We make some investments with renewable energy resources. But I would like to say that the most infrastructure venue in the whole history, in the whole food bank history, is the creation of Kuźnia Społeczna. It's a place for people and with people in mind. It is created by Food Bank in Olsztyn, of course. And I would like to show you a short movie. And I'm sure that you will agree with me that there's a fabulous place, but not only, maybe not the place, but the activity that we do here that are very valuable, important, outstanding. And so I hope that you will join it. Kuźnia Społeczna is a revitalized 19th century building that combines the spirit of tradition and modernity. Now you can see our flag event. It's eco-trendy. We can briefly describe it as a festival of local products. We gathered together local producers, farmers, nutritionists, chefs, experts, and scientists in order to act on behalf of healthier and more sustainable consumer choices. The event is full of knowledge, inspiration and workshops. It not only inspired to live carefully in the slow spirit and to use the potential of nature, but also help us make our choice easier, to give us an opportunity to buy fresh food, as you can see, healthy food directly from producers, but also give us an opportunity to cook together, to learn how to use the products, the whole products, how use the fresh products, how use the products in whole, to not waste any part of it. So we created this this building, this place, to that we'll be able to make this many activities, educational activities, but I would like to mention that Kuźnia Społeczna is not only the market, the local market, as you can see, but there is also a restaurant, hostel, workshop kitchen. You can see it on the film, but also a co-working space. And I think that maybe you can wondering why co-working space, why do we need it, for what? And this space is, and this activity is in line with our entrepreneurship area of activity. It is a good place to create some innovative projects, innovative activities. We cooperate with business. We invite some startups, invite people who have an idea to make a food sector more sustainable, or to make sustainable choices easier. And maybe I won't tell you in details about speed up your business, but a few words about it. It is an enterprise development program that support the commercialization of a product or service for a company, for businesses, small business, new businesses from the Warmia and Mazury, so from our region. And we prefer branches connected with food, agro, and health. And then with cooperation of some business experts, we try to support them to create some innovations in business that help people, for example, not waste so much or make sustainable choices. And here on the presentation, you can see the whole services that we provide for our startups. Here on the right side, you can see one of our startup that took part in our projects. It is Rebus, so the bus with fish bus. I would like to translate it like this. And this is the guy who make all dishes by themselves using fresh and local products. And he travel around our region and invite people to have his fresh products or fresh dishes. But besides this, we do a lot around the education and public engagement, also within international cooperation. The food bank in Oslo is a member of EIT Foods, so it is European Innovation and Technological Institute. It is a body of European Commission that act on behalf of the food sector. And here we, together with our partners from other regions, we are engaged in two products. For example, the annual food agenda. It is the project that we are run with partner from Spain, United Kingdom, Finland, and in 2021 joined to us Turkey and Romania. And what we did it, we organized a workshop, culinary workshop, and some board games for children. We invited them to our kuźnia społeczna, and we conduct for them culinary workshop. As I said, we make some lectures, so it is with a big dose of knowledge about healthy diet, healthy habits, about and a lot of tips and hints about preventing food waste and so on. And during this World Food Day, we were visited by over 400 people in 2 editions. We made also some animation movie, short animation movie about food waste. And we show them during this food day, but not only, we also invite some schools to visit us. And we also are going to schools to present this movie. Another project, it is food science class. It's also supported by EIT Food. It is a project with schools where we cooperate with the Polish Academy of Science. We also, we are responsible here in this project. We are responsible with for the organization of workshops connected with zero waste cooking, for example, and we also run live cooking show, as you can see on the picture on the bottom. And I would like to say that children like the most this activity here in Kuźnia, because after some evaluation, when even other partners ask pupils or students what do they like the most, they answer that the visit in a food bank. So I think that there's a great job we did it. Other project, it is rather conducted here in our national level, sorry, in Poland, but in a regional level. It is Orange School. It is a project connected with ecological education in schools. So this is a unique program created by food bank expert. So we not only invite people here to the Kuźnia Społeczna, but we are also going to schools and then making some workshops, together created events, lectures in or outside the school about zero waste, gardening, eco habits, and so on. So the main aid of this project is, of course, the education of preventing or reducing food waste, reducing packaging, living in harmony with environment, and the awareness of impact of our daily choices on the planet. It is something similar that Monica and Cristiano mentioned before. So we use some examples from everyday lives of the students that they can, after that, transfer the knowledge to their home and make the choices, small steps, but the big difference, the small steps that make the big. Another project, the Flavors of Generation. It is a project that put together local communities and the seniors from the third age universities. They are joined together to disseminate knowledge and promote some local food and also eating habits. What is interesting in this project, we conduct some culinary workshops during which seniors teach the youngest generation their recipes. So they tell how it was in their times, what kind of products they use, how they use products, how they prevent products from being wasted, how they store products in cellars, for example, and so on. So many tips and from the wise and from the knowledge of old people. And I would like to tell you a few words about another project. It is maybe it's not straight or maybe it's not directly joined with the food, but it is around the educational activities, because it is non-formal education connected with vocational activation and social inclusion. Form from outdoors to labor market. It is a project that it's based on the method of personal and social development, because we believe that social inclusion is also very important in our work to prevent poverty, as you mentioned, and that's why we joined to the project that it's led with Spain, Poland, and Ireland. And it's based on the method of personal and social development with the use of the nature. This method was invented, developed by the University of Edinburgh, and then was implemented in these 3 regions. And And what is the main goal? The main goal is to help young people, these young people that are not in employment, education, and training. So this need, as it is said, to be re-entered to the labor market. What is the new or outstanding? That they are going to the forest for 7 days. They sleep in tents without mobile phones, and they are working on their personal goals. And I would like to tell you about the effectiveness of this method. As you can see, as you can see on the bottom, in the whole project, 990 participants took part, and with 83% of effectiveness. So 34 participants went into employment. 17 of them,
Aneta, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up now, because so that we can have a little bit time of discussion. So if there is any other activities that are related to education.
No, that is the last one. And for the end, I would like to only put a short, very shortly film.
Yeah, but let me just tell you that the films don't really work. There is too much delay to watch videos. So if there is any video that you would like to share, I suggest that you share it in the chat.
Okay, I will put the link on the chat.
Because it doesn't really work with the audio and the image on Zoom.
Okay, so this is the last project I would like to mention you about it.
But is it related to education? Because we really won't have any time for the questions or discussions.
No, there was the last. So this is the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. I see that you guys are very busy with a lot of different projects. It's impressive. I have to say that from the Norwegian point of view, these are the kind of activities that our partner organizations do, and not necessarily the food bank. So it's very interesting to see the food bank taking that role in the society, involving other arenas that are not just there is a lot of projects that the Norwegian food banks participate in terms of work integration and so on, but they're related to working at specific projects or at the food bank, and not so much outreach into the society. So it's very impressive to see that you guys have the capacity to also do that. Thank you for sharing this.
Thank you, and sorry for being so late.
That's okay. I think everyone here can relate. We have a lot of very engaged speakers, and when one likes what is talking about, it's hard to keep it short when one is so engaged. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there any questions about any of the many initiatives and projects presented by Aneta or anyone else? I had an idea to propose the 4 speakers, if the 2 Norwegian ones could highlight something that they like particularly about the Polish approach in terms of educational activities. If there was something in particular that you liked, that you thought it was interesting, it would be great if Cristiano and Monica had 2 different ones. So if one mentions it first, the second one is not allowed to say the same one. And I would also like to make this invitation to the 2 Polish speakers. If there is 2 things that you would like to highlight that you thought were positive or interesting or very good about the Norwegian activities. So I don't know who would like to start. This was not prepared, so I just put everyone on the spot. I hope you don't hate me, but I thought that we needed to have some interaction here.
I can be very quickly, and I think it's just very interesting to see the differences between the approaches. And I don't think we stressed it, but both Monica and I, we are the general managers, and we do this in addition to running the warehouses. So I'm sort of envious about the resources you have to do this. So that is something that we should probably look into to more putting more resources into this and see if we can get some money, extra money for this, if we want to do this as a national thing. So that was really impressive, the outreach that you have on the and how many kids that you have reached with your educational program. So thank you.
I would like to just add something to what Cristiano just said. We do have in one of our food banks, we had just started a very, very new project with education, where we do have a dedicated project manager working specifically with this. What she is doing is she's going to schools, and it's a little bit more integrated education, like the Polish experience, where they talk a little bit about environment, the food system, and many things. And they try to integrate this in other subjects, whether it's math or geography or whatever it is. But this is still piloting, and therefore we didn't include them in the presentations today. But we hope that next time we have this meeting, we also have some experiences. And as Cristiano said, we also hope that this replicates in many other food banks, and that we in the future have more dedicated resources to focus on this. Monica?
Yeah, well, I found it really interesting that when you had the Euro mission, you had the different age groups, and I think it must be very inspiring to work with different age groups when you have to adjust the topic to different groups. And I really liked your storyboards. Maybe we could make something like that in Norway.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Monica. Alexandra, is there anything you would like to highlight from what you saw about the Norwegian experience?
For us, it was interesting that you are talking with children about poverty, because we don't do it a lot. We don't do it much, and it's because maybe because of the difference in.
We are wondering if it's because of the differences between our countries, that I don't know. Maybe in Poland it's more obvious that there is. I don't know. It sounds strange, but yes, but. I don't know why, but it's not so easy to talk about poverty in Poland. Maybe because we know that we are in different situation, and it's hard to talk about it. I don't know. It's really what stay with me, that why and how to talk about it, and if it's easy or hard in Poland to do it.
Yeah, that was indeed very, very interesting.
Because it's very, you know, it's this second side, yes, because we are talking about do not waste food, and to rescue food, and to give food to others that are in need, but we don't speak about those in need themselves, yes. So it's interesting for us. For me.
It's very interesting, because one is able to talk about the issue of food waste either from a completely environmental point of view, or you can link it to the problem of redistribution, of unfair redistribution in this case, and link it to poverty, which is ultimately also the goal of the food banks. So we see that there's definitely many approaches. So many in future activities, we can explore more this topic of poverty. And I would like to hear Aneta, if there's something you would like to highlight or mention.
Yes, I would like to say that I like the most the situation that, as I remember correctly, Monica show that they invite children to their warehouse. They create some kind of presentation room, and then tell them important things. And I think that in this kind of situation, not being in a classroom and not being in a typical conference room, make them awareness, make them or move them, and they have an opportunity to be familiar with their daily work. And the same Cristiano said that they rather invite people and invite children to the warehouse. And here in Olsztyn, we did it in previous years, but recently we trying to organize activities in this building. That's why, and the warehouse are far from this location. That's why it is hard to organize this kind of activity. But I find it's very interesting, and I think it's important that I will speak with my colleagues to change something in our educational programs.
Absolutely, and Aneta, this shock element. I was even thinking, even just the small detail of letting the kids into a freezer room that is minus 20 degrees. It might actually be one of the things they will remember the most, but and they'll go home and be like, you know what, today I was in minus 20 with just my jacket, and that would be a highlight of the day. And from there you can start connecting, okay, but why was I there, and what was that place, and what we were talking about in that place. So even these small little details behind this shock element, I think was also very interesting. Is there any questions before we wrap up for today? If there's any questions, you're just free to take the microphone and speak. Well, I think that we have already seen a lot of really nice ideas and experiences. We have been able to exchange some of these and ask some questions. It is, as many mentioned here, I think that there is two differences. I think that the Polish network of food banks has definitely much more focus in doing this kind of activities outside the regular activity of the food banks. That is very impressive, and it's something that we can learn of. Then we also see that the Norwegian food banks managed to also incorporate the subject of poverty into their education. So that was also very interesting to hear. And of course, the difference between the concept of poverty in one place and the other, and the situation with poverty in one place and the other, which obviously have an impact in how these two subjects are touched upon in such different ways in both countries. So I'd like to thank you very much for this meeting. If no one else has any questions or would like to say anything, I would finish this meeting right now.
I just wanted to add, I would like to thank Paula for being a host of this event. You are the perfect host, and hopefully next time it will go so smoothly as this.
I think we did great. Thank you so much to all of the presenters. Thank you, Alexandra, for all the assistance to make this happen, and all of the presenters that had really good presentations to share with us today. And for everyone that had some very interesting questions as well.
Thank you, Paula. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.